Oh man, we should talk about this. This should actually be a stream topic. Katano's interview with Evo. Did you guys see this? This is something that I've been talking about a lot lately. One of my fears. Certain pattern that we see with some players who either don't play the game as much or aren't as experienced compared to other players. Watch certain pro gamers, very interesting shot that Evo used here, and see their reaction to things that happen in the game. Forming a similar opinion to the person they are watching. It's like we got feedback from actual players, but now we're getting feedback from like people who just got their opinions from someone else. And I love that he says basically, we know this is a thing. We know people get their opinions from other places. So we have to consider like the people who are saying this stuff, where do they get this opinion from? And like, does it make sense or not? Where is this coming from? Like what level of play is this coming from? Why do they feel this way? Because it's important, as you guys may know, right? Great example I always bring up is Edmund Honda in Street Fighter 6 is really bad at a high level. A lot of people thought he was bottom 3 at like a really high level, like tournament level play. But outside of that, he was like the best character in the game. And as a developer, you probably do need to nerf Honda in some ways. Even though he's a bottom 3 character at a high level, the vast majority of the player base, when they interact with him, he's a demon. But what he says here, right? You get feedback from people who don't play the game or who just get their opinion from some other location. They don't think for themselves about the game. They just see someone says, when people turn green and go fast, it's too strong. Let me write that down. When people skip neutral, it's too good. Or drive reversal's too weak. You just take it from someplace, right? Like Phenoms on Twitter saying Ken's bad. Yeah, man, Ken is not as good as Luke. We gotta go type it up. Or wherever the location is. And this may be from me. You may be thinking, yeah, all those other people get bad opinions from places, but I get my opinion from Sajam. Let me just copy what Sajam says. You shouldn't do that either. Whenever any human being says something to you, you should think to yourself, what are they saying? And does that make sense? Do I think this? Like, what do I think about this? Well, I'm not sure. Or I think it's maybe too good because of this or that. Or maybe you think it's too good, but you don't even know why. But this is a factor for everybody who makes anything ever now. Because every single thing that's created, people will play it and talk about it, and loud voices will share an opinion. And I think about this a lot too, because I often make videos that are contrary to noise. It's a lot of like, well, let's try to be sensible about things. And a lot of that is in reaction or in disagreement with more frustrating, louder voices in this space. And I think, to be honest, like, I'm not saying that those people are wrong and that I'm right, but we just are coming at something in different ways or with different level of tolerance, feelings or understandings about how we think about or see the game. In general, no matter who says something, you should think about it. I'm sure a lot of you know, like when you talk to another person, sometimes you'll say a sentence. You'll be like, what do you think about, you saw this movie or whatever? And you could tell that the person who answers you is not thinking about their answer. They're like autopiloting the conversation. It's just like, I've heard this opinion somewhere else and like, it's good enough. I'll just say this opinion to you without thinking about it myself, you know? This kind of conversational thing happens with everything. They're giving you the TLDR of someone else's opinion heard from somewhere else that they heard from someone. They saw a YouTube thumbnail somewhere. Great example. Justin Wong made a video and the YouTube title was something like, is Chun-Li low tier in Street Fighter 6 now? It's like something like that. Like obviously Chun is one of the strongest characters in the game by most people's opinion in last version and now in this version. A lot of people think she's really good. His like title was that. And someone in my chat said like, oh yeah, Justin thinks Chun-Li is low tier now. I haven't watched the video either, but I assume that he doesn't say that in the video, question mark, right? But also no one thinks the character is low tier. Most people think that she is super, super strong. It's just like the title says that. This is the nature of something like this. And yeah, most people are not going to think for themselves. They're just going to be like, oh, someone else said X or Y. All right, cool. People do this constantly. They do this with every single thing. It's why when a new DLC comes out, you know, Akuma and Slayer just came out. As you guys saw, everybody comes in here at streamer. Is the character broken? Is he good? Is he bad? Thoughts, opinions, impressions? That's why everybody wants to know. It's been 2 hours. Everybody calm down. But yeah, I mean, honestly, if you think about Street Fighter 6, they really didn't change a lot of the stuff that people asked them to change, no? They didn't nerf Drive Rush directly very much. They didn't nerf throw loops. They nerfed Perfect Parry, actually. That was one thing they did nerf, but not in the way people expected, I think. They kept a lot of the stuff people complained about, but they just like nerfed other things or changed other things. And I think that the launch patch for Street Fighter 6 is good. And I think this patch is pretty great too, actually. But they didn't just be like, all right, drive rush is like punish counter state, or like, what was that suggestion James Chen had? When you get hit while drive rushing, you should stumble inward towards the other characters so you can like get a full combo or something. You know when Soul counter hit Fafners you in Exerd? It should do that, but in reverse, right? You should just tumble inward towards and like fall towards the character. Yeah, I wonder how Luke's crouching medium punch would be if every time he hit it and you were drive rushing, that happened to you. You should get a jump in. What if I just hit crouching medium punch, you stumble inward, and then I can neutral jump heavy punch combo? I'm down. Yeah, they didn't do any of these kinds of changes, right? The way they changed it was slightly different. And I think their patching makes a lot of sense because of it. They clearly put some time into thinking about the changes, and I think they're pretty solid overall. I don't agree with everything, but the stuff that I don't agree with, even, I can see why they made the changes they made. Most of them seem pretty sensible. They just have like a different vision of what the character's supposed to do. And maybe my vision is honestly probably too boring is the actual answer. You should think about these kinds of things yourselves instead of just letting somebody else decide for you. And even if you do want to let someone decide for you, let's say you identify that your knowledge or understanding of something is not as good as someone else's. Just think about the things they say and be like, does that make sense to me? Do I agree with that or not? You know, I find myself asking that question all the time. I'm like, am I stupid? Like, am I saying something that's stupid right now? And asking myself that is important because by doing that, you know, I'm self-reflecting and actually thinking about stuff rather than just being like, let me just say the thing I'm going to say and not care about anybody else's opinion. This is something I'm really afraid of for 2XKO because that game I'm sure will be patching more frequently. And the amount of human beings who are going to be talking about 2XKO who don't play fighting games is going to be outrageous. They're going to be looking for someone's opinion to pair it, right? And it might be mine, it might be someone else, it might be someone who doesn't play fighting games, but like the audience is going to be an enormously loud voice no matter whose opinion they're copying. It will be someone's opinion. I often talk about this, but like someone will write something about Street Fighter 6's balance. I click on their YouTube account and they've uploaded a match video, right? And I watch them play, and they're like a platinum Zangief main who's like, yeah, Zangief's terrible and not very good. And I'm watching this platinum Zangief player play, and like, you know, he's trying to play the game, doing his best, whatever, right? But like, this person is typing about like why at a high level Zangief can't compete against XYZ, etc. And you're like, dude, you're playing a different game. Like, you're not playing the same game that the people whose opinion you're copying. Your level of play and their level of play is different. So your problems and their problems are going to be different. What you're complaining about watching your matches is not actually what's happening here. You gotta really think about it on your own. At that level of play, I bet you Zangief's a demon. But yeah, Katano, very correct in this video. Thanks to Evo for making this video. It's really easy to just copy other people's opinions and regurgitate them. Be careful out there. Use your brain. If your mouth is moving and you're not thinking it at all, you got to be careful. You're what I've been saying and mashing on words, you know. Listen. I think Geef's changes I like, except I think wheel kick is like way too spammable. The knee point blank should not be just safe all the time always. He's almost always plus on it actually. He's plus a lot of the time. But it being safe this close to you when you do the knee makes no sense to me. That is a nonsense change. I really don't get that. It's a move you're supposed to space. Being unfuck-upable, for lack of a better term, to me is like really silly. I really don't get those two things for Zangief, but like a lot of his other changes are really cool.